a lot of things you can do with that, and we've done it all over the years. But I think a big key is when you're doing a Wildcat, you have to make sure that the kid you're doing the Wildcat with can handle it, because there's chances are he might be playing defense, or he might be a corner, or he might be a receiver. So you got to carve out time to do that. So the first one that we run is we call it power read. Okay, so power read, jet read, and toss read are in the same family. Okay, power read is when we're running wide zone action. Okay, and the quarterback is reading the end. So when we talk about power read, all right, the linemen are essentially going to block power, except instead of blocking the end, we are going to read the end. We're going to get that nice double, that tag to the backside backer. We're still going to block back. We're going to B-gap pick hinge, and we're going to pull there. And then the quarterback in the back has to scoot up. The quarterback is going to, the F is going to run the railroad track in front of the quarterback. He's going to run the railroad track in front of the quarterback, flat down the line. The quarterback is going to take 2 to 3 shuffle steps, as many as he needs, and he's shuffling flat down the line, and he is reading that end. Okay? If the end's up the field and he chases the back, he gets on the hip of that pulling guard and gets tight. If the end squeezes, we hand the ball to the back, and then he ends up turning into outside zone. The key on this play, when you're running it out of open sets or 10 personnel, you have to make sure that you have a guy that can block this scraping linebacker, because if you do it out of 2x2 and you run wide zone and this guy squeezes and he scrapes, you don't have a hat for him, okay? So we can do that a bunch of different ways depending on what we're doing. So power read to the right, okay? All right, now, once we start teaching it out of 2x2 10 personnel, then we start getting into 20 personnel. All right, so it's the same exact play here. Now all we've done is we've added an H-back or a sniffer, and now your sniffer, his technique is what we call cruising the box. Okay, this is a huge coaching point. He's going to cruise the box. He's going to check for edge pressure. If there's no threat of edge pressure, he's going to arc. We do not touch the end. He's checking scraping Mike linebacker to touchdown block to safety. Check edge pressure, no edge pressure, track the scraper, touchdown block. We're still running wide zone, okay? So that is power read, okay? All right. Power read left, okay, is the same thing. We're doing the same exact thing. We're running it over here to the left, okay? All right. Now, when we run, and I'm going to get into that in just a second, and I have toss read drawn up. When we run toss read right, all we're doing is we're putting the back to the same side. Teams call it same side power read, okay? The quarterback is still going to take 2 to 3 shuffle steps, and he's reading the end. The back is going to be in a 1-by-4 pitch ratio, okay? And then he's reading the end. Now, if you notice one thing here, this is versus the tight front, okay? It's really easy to block it versus a 4-2 box. But when you start getting into the tight front, spent a year in Georgia, everybody's running the tight front down there. So it changes up the blocking rules a little bit. The tackle knows when he has a 4-eye, he's going to arc for that Mike linebacker, and then we would read the 4-eye. And then we would get the double between the center and the guard, B-gap pick hinge, pull around as well, okay? So we've got a couple different ways we can do that. But let's look at power read here, okay? So this is black power read left. Okay, this is a state semifinal game. Okay, this is the H-back. Okay, he's going to cruise the box, which means they go ahead and walk a guy up. So that is the guy he is reading. The back is going to run the railroad track in front of the quarterback. Now, I try to keep our back's alignment as consistent as possible. Okay, I try to keep his alignment, but sometimes on this play, man, he's going to have to scoot up just a little bit. Okay, he punches and pivots. He runs flat down the line. the quarterback takes as many shuffles as he needs to read that block of that defensive end, and then he either keeps it. If he keeps it, he gets on the pulling guard's hip and gets north and south, or if he hands it off, then we're just running east and west with speed. So this is power read to the left. Great job by my little H-back. Okay, pull it, get inside, digging that guy out. All right, the end squeezes. You can see the end puts his hands on the tackle. So that is a pull read for a give read for the quarterback. Nice job by the tailback or the quarterback. Again, that kid's at Louisville, the quarterback. So we found a way to get him in the game as a Wildcat. And then we get a good play on the perimeter. Good job blocking out there too. Okay, so if you look at it here, we're reading this defensive end. We're reading 33. We're reading this guy right here, all right? So he blocks down, okay? That is definitely a give read by the quarterback. Now, the coaching point on this guard, as he pulls, he's got to get around that guy. If he squeezes, we got to pull around him. If he's up the field, we got to pull underneath him, and then the quarterback would hit it up underneath him. So there's two different ways, and there's a lot of variations we can do on this play. I'm not going to necessarily get into that today, okay, but there's some things you can do different as well. Okay, so here is a tight end, okay? So we're running early yo far, power read right, okay? Power read to the right. Anytime we have a tight end, that is no different than that H-back being right there. The tight end's right there. We want to arch, okay? And then we're running the railroad track, and then he arcs for inside the box, okay? Now, if he notices his linebacker disappears, he should go to the safety for a touchdown block. And guys, we've gotten away from running power read over the years. We've gotten a lot more toss read, okay? But you can see the read by the quarterback. Okay? Okay, let's get into jet read, okay? So jet read is the same exact thing as far as blocking scheme. Power read, toss read, and jet read, the linemen are blocking the same. And what I refer to as jet read is this is when we start adding motion. And the reason I like jet read over just old school power read is because you have to make sure you have hats for these scraping linebackers, okay? And if you just run old school power read, it's tough because they can scrape over the top if you don't have an extra blocker. So no matter how we're running this play, whether it's motion here, whoever the motion guy is, whoever is in the backfield, they are arc players. So in this situation, our tailback now becomes the player who is cruising the box. He will arch. He's checking edge pressure to scraper to touchdown block to safety. That is his rule, okay? Now, the thing with this is when you add motion, okay, you have to make sure that your quarterback does a good job of timing the motion up. We want to snap this ball when we're about 2 to 3 yards from the tackle, and this quarterback still wants to get, 3 to 4 to 5 shuffles to make sure he reads that play correctly. Okay, so this is the first day of us installing jet read. We're a 2x2 10 personnel team, so we're going to teach it out of a 2x2 10 set. All right, so if you see the motion here, all right. Now I'm not necessarily fond of him cheating his alignment so bad. We want the motion full speed. Okay, but that's not bad right there. Okay, all right. You see the end, he chases the motion guy. You see the guy, the back is checking for cruising the box or the archer. All right, the quarterback keeps it tight. Now, one thing that we talk about too is I want this play staying front side, guys. I want to keep it front side. So once he pulls it there, okay, I'd like for him to even keep it front side because a lot of times that backside cutback, it closes up quickly. All right, okay. So that's 2x2 10. Now we get into 3x1, okay? So 3x1, I love it this way because we're running it back to the field, okay? So we're running speed motion by number 3. The tailback is arcing, and the good thing about this one is if the end squeezes, we're running speed sweep essentially with grass out there, okay? Great timing by the quarterback, okay? This guy is our H receiver, but he's also another tailback, okay?
So he can do he's a really good versatile player who was the motion guy. All right? So good job by the quarterback. Look how they misfit that. That's a really, really poor job on their end. And then this is what I talk about the quarterback keeping it front side.